bans, we see the same thing that Gambit did to EG yesterday. They first banned the Malphite, and I think they're more afraid of Wickd on Malphite than they are of Wickd on Zac.
Yes.
And it didn't work very well for Gambit yesterday because Wickd had a very big impact, especially on the tower dives, thanks to Yellowpete just cleaning up with Vayne. In terms of the rest of picks and bans, we actually don't see too many overlapping champions between these two teams, so they might actually get comfort picks.
I was just watching him play Malphite, and it was hilarious, honestly. But that's a story maybe for when we have a little bit of downtime. Zac has been banned out as well, though, as well as Kassadin, which, of course, Froggen used to great effect when we were in... actually, it wasn't. It was tell a lie. It was Xpeke that used it before in Tenerife. I'm completely lying.
Kassadin's been played by basically every mid laner here in EU. It's been picked up. It's one of the sort of trending champions, as we do seem to have these ups and downs. In terms of the rest of the bans, though, Zac, once again, taken away from Wickd. So his most played after that is Ryze. I think that would still be something to think about. Jace is still open. Thresh is still open. Nami is still open.
Twisted Fate's still open.
And we've seen a lot of first pick Namis yesterday and Threshers, just to sort of say, well, we don't really know what you want to take, and it could be a safe pick. So that would be my guess for where Fnatic are going to go with this
They could go for the Shen Blitzcrank swap around as well, which they did against Gambit last week. As sOAZ is the man on your screen at the moment that is making the decision for his team, or more to the point, his team is giving input. Nunu potentially going to be selected. Was banned out in Tenerife against them before, so that's interesting. So Cyanide may be pushing the buttons here and say, I want Nunu in the jungle.
Yeah, the flip side to that is, of course, now that they've still left all of the OPs on the table, they're basically saying, okay, we want to see what EG are picking, and then we'll base our decisions on that. The globals are still up. Shen is there. Twisted Fate is there. Thresh was the other big one. Nami is still available. There's a lot of big, high-priority picks, and the world is for both of these teams' oysters right now. It's just depending on what they decide is more important.
It seems that Krepo almost certainly wants to have Thresh, despite the fact he was disappointed with his performance last time he played Thresh. And he's like, don't worry, guys. I missed every single hook, but it didn't matter because we won the game and nobody noticed.
In terms of his Thresh, out of the 21 games they played, he's played 8 times.
Yeah.
So that's a very big percentage of matches played with that champion. If we do see the Thresh Vayne, it's a very good kill lane.
Yes.
The potential is very good for them. I do think it might leave the likes of Sona or Nami open. And we've seen YellOwStaR playing a lot of Sona this split already.
So during your time over with the game developers and the QA department and everybody else, did you manage to find out whether the Thresh hook lands can be condemned to and effectively used as a wall?
I did not, because I didn't ask. I was not sent with that homework, I'm afraid. But I don't think it would.
Should have checked.
I don't think it would, because the Thresh hook is a temporary stun, so I don't think it would act as a blocking unit. It doesn't work against Froggen walls. Against Anivia walls, it doesn't work against Cataclysm walls, so I doubt it will work in that regard. Ooh. On the other side, Lissandra locked in. They could be top or even mid lane Lissandra. We've seen both sOAZ and Xpeke playing that one.
And what still bedazzles me is Lissandra's not really picked in North America still, despite the incredible win rate he has here in Europe.
It's just different trends.
I guess,
yeah, the champion, it trends really different. And I actually brought it up with a lot of the North American teams, and they were talking about how it doesn't necessarily fit their play style. You know, in EU, we've got a very mid-lane-centric, heavy team compositions, and a lot of our teams are built around the solo laners, and then everything else funnels into that. In NA, it's a lot more about the AD carry and the duo lane, and teams are built around AD carries for many, many teams. And basically, Lissandra as support is not as impactful as the solo laners, and the solo laners tend to play different champions. So they said they could pick it up, but it just doesn't fit their playstyle and their meta at the moment.
And that's interesting because, I mean, we've seen a lot of top laners running it as well to great success, which I actually believe that may well be sOAZ playing it, in fact, in this game.
It wouldn't surprise me. You do tend to leave your mid laner for last. Now, this is a great pickup. First of all, Snoopeh's going to be back on his Nasus, which he played yesterday and has had very good success with. And also knowing that the jungle's taken for Fnatic, it's a safe lock-in. The Yorick works with any hyper carry. One of the things you always want to stick with him is basically the likes of a Vayne or a Cassiopeia or even a Ryze, which is not going to be locked in yet, but we could see Froggen picking it up. And basically that Omen of Death, it allows you to mimic your most powerful super hyper mega carry and just let them tear the entire enemy team apart.
If this Lee Sin gets selected, that means it could be Xpeke. Well, Xpeke has played a fantastic Lissandra, played a brilliant Lissandra in Tenerife, actually, now I come to think of it. We'll see how it goes, but with Jace also being hovered over, this would make Nunu a support, so we'll see which one they actually decide to stick with. With only 1 second left, it doesn't seem that they're going to be changing anything, so it will be something we've not seen in an incredibly long time. And Nunu support.
So when I see the Nunu support, specifically Nunu Caitlyn lane, it immediately makes me think back to like OGN summer last year.
Like a year ago,
Yes, when you were sticking the Nunu Kates in the mid lane, and the goal and the idea was to take control of the jungle. You allow Nunu to run up with that steal your opponent's Wraith camp, and also really put a lot of pressure on that mid lane tower. So even if we don't see Fnatic putting their dual lane mid, we could see them putting them top and going for a really hard, heavy push. With a Jace, a Caitlyn, a Nunu, and even Lee Sin, who gets attack speed increases whenever he uses his abilities, that's a lot of early damage in towers if they can brute force people away.
So they're maybe going to try and get those quick, fast pushes, take those lanes down. Let's see which way, though, Evil Geniuses can go. Were they expecting this? That's the question. Or are they caught a little off guard here with only 8 seconds to make that choice? It seems that Ari will be the selection for Froggen in the mid lane. No, last second change, Twisted Fate.
I like the Twisted Fate lock-in because that does a number of things for the Evil Geniuses team. First of all, the wave clear, once he gets his ability power up, is going to help defend against those wave pushes. In addition, if they are playing a heavy map-based push strat, it's going to allow Froggen to just roam and try counter wherever the numbers are in favor of Fnatic and just help them out.
And of course, this is 3.9 Twisted Fate, so the changes have gone through. It means his global gold doesn't...
No, it's still global. It's still global. 3.10 was changed to individual.
Is it 3.10?
Yeah, 3.10 was individual. So on 3.9, he's still, the entire team does collect 2 gold.
Goes to show I just get lost by that many
patches. A lot of patches.
But it's great that the game is being consistently evolving. There's actually a lot of the players are really looking forward to 3.10. So interesting to see how that one's going to go when it rolls through here into the LCS. But right now, Teleport are being selected on the Xpeke, so no surprises there. He's going to try and keep a track of Froggen. What do you see individually from these teams?
The thing that Fnatic's composition is definitely showing is they're built around skirmishing. They've got champions that will do very, very well in smaller, 2v2s, 3v3 situations, and they don't have that traditional tanky front line. They've got a Jason and Lee Sin that are more damage-oriented than tank-oriented. Over on the other side for Evil Geniuses, however, they've got a much tankier, beefier front line. They've got that Yorick to just, man-mode it up front. They've got Nasus that can help out with his ultimate, and then basically allow Twisted Fate and Vayne to just clean up from the back. If Fnatic get trapped in a 5v5 situation, EG should be able to be in a victorious position.
We've got double smite on Fnatic.
So in the loading screen, we're about to get this in your in-game in just a second. YellOwStaR is running Flash Smite on Nunu, and that 100% confirms the theory they want a fast push. They want to drop those minions as quickly as possible and maintain pressure across the entire map, taking down towers as they go. And with Caitlyn, with their immense range, it's definitely going to play into their favor.
It also means they don't actually have an exhaust of any type, which is incredibly dangerous going up against the Vayne.
Not only that, they've only got 1 Ignite. So single Ignite on their top laner, they've got Teleport on their mid laner, and then a Barrier and a Smite. The early game for Fnatic is incredibly important now. If they are or if they're controlled by Evil Geniuses, EG can buy the time they need for Twisted Fate and for Vayne to become just terrifying and tear through the Fnatic lineup.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be Fnatic as the blue team and Evil Geniuses as the red team. You just heard it there, the early game. It is all important for Fnatic. Let's keep our eyes peeled and see how it works out. Currently, YellOwStaR is going to make his way straight towards the tri-bush, and Wickd seeing him straight away. Doesn't go for the engage, tries to get a swing on towards the ward though. And instead, Evil Geniuses get themselves a ward over on the red as well. Puszu spotted that one out.
This early game is very important for EG to figure out where Fnatic are putting their lanes, because EG are busy thinking, where is the duo going to go? Where is Nunu and Cake going to go? At the moment, it looks like they could be going mid lane, and I think that's probably where they're going to put themselves. And you can see that both Yellowpete and Krepo, they're also hanging around that mid lane area in case the Fnatic duo is there. They can at least hold on to that tower for longer.
They've got a lot of pings, and 4 members of Evil Geniuses heading up towards that top lane right now. So let's see whether they can rotate around in towards the blue for a late invade. In fact, all 5 members now of EG sneaking in. And look at Snoopeh, he's going right across the top in towards the top bushes. So they're sneaking right the way around at the moment to try and get down that middle river.
You have to think this is going to be a death bush now. The whole Evil Geniuses team has snuck themselves up here.
I've not seen this since like level 1 days.
Death bush times ended 3 years ago. YellOwStaR is a little bit out of position. Now the question is, which way does he run? Push, you may get caught out. Gold card's primed!
That's going to be the stun card. The hook comes in. Dead centers almost certainly will be the case, and it's Froggen that picks up the kill. No chance there. Late invade on blue.
This is so crucial for Evil Geniuses. They're going to be able to start pressuring the jungle, pressuring Fnatic's jungle, and as I'm saying that, YellOwStaR with Smite and playing Nunu was thinking about going for red, but it's very risky, so he's backing away.
He's realized the danger of the situation, that he hasn't got an AD carry to help him out there, as effectively trying to double jungle Evil Geniuses there. Snoopeh's going to come around, already picked up that blue buff. He spots out YellOwStaR actually maybe in trouble. He tries to stick around. The death sentence dodge though, and that will force him away, just delaying Snoopeh as long as possible there to stop him getting towards that jungle, trying to buy time for Cyanide, who does take down the blue buff of his own, and now he's actually double buffed up.
So very importantly, they've just traded buffs. Froggen was able to defend the red, but YellOwStaR hasn't given up on it yet. He still has his Smite available.
Yeah, and Snoopeh doesn't, which is why Krepo is coming around trying to defend him. YellOwStaR trying to give him the slip here, going all around the side. But meanwhile, down the bottom lane, they're going to dive on towards Wickd. Xpeke and Cyanide combined, not quite got enough to take down Yorick.
But that is a lot of damage onto Yorick, so he's going to be forced to burn through all of his mana just to sustain his HP up with those Omen of famines at the moment. We do see the lanes standardizing, as it's going to be 2v2 in the top lane, and Smite instantly used on the cannon minion. They really want to get control of this lane.
They need to try and bully down the lanes, and you can see they have a pretty big creep wave, but honestly, I feel Pete's probably going to be quite happy about fighting on the tower here. He should be able to farm out perfectly fine, perfectly safe, with effectively, who really won out from that? Let's have a look, because the red buff and the blue buff were both taken by both junglers, just opposite way around. And it seems the early gambit that YellOwStaR had of trying to push in there with that Smite, trying to consume, trying to beat that red buff down as quick as possible, kind of backfired.
Yeah, it didn't pay off. Not only that, they gave up first blood. So Fnatic tried an early game, jungle control. This is 3.9, so stealing those buffs is even more valuable than it is on 3.10. But Snoopeh managed to retain control of his half of the map. What we are seeing, though, is that Puszu and YellOwStaR are really controlling Yellowpete and Krepo. Keep an eye on their HP bars as they continue to focus this time.
Just how important it is, if you do get that really early first blood, that you get that gold spent. And look at Froggen, he's done it. He's gone back, he's got double Doran's rings now, and the boots as well to go with it.
Yeah, a whole bunch of potions and wards to back it up as well, which is even more important during the laning phase. It's just going to allow him to take a bunch of harass and stay in lane. What we did notice during this last couple of seconds is that Xpeke actually used his teleport to get back into that bottom lane after shoving it up and putting a lot of damage onto Wickd. So that's not going to be available for the next couple of minutes.
Look at the top lane, actually. The pairing, Pete and Krepo, they're quite happy to just actually take the golems. So they're backing off. They're quite happy to let that lane be pushed as hard and fast as it can be by Fnatic. Instead, they just back away. And Puszu wasn't really of the same mind. He didn't have his support with him. He does manage to get down that siege minion, but they're happy to just sit this one up and farm it up. And let's have a look at the farm between the two. It's actually Yellowpete currently with the advantage.
So right now, Yellowpete's had a little bit more time to control his farming presence. We've already seen YellOwStaR backing off. Or we do see Puszu, he's been hooked in, and there goes Krepo.
Is it going to be enough, though? They've managed to land the flay. That's going to be the three-pong. There's the exhaust. One more hit should be enough. One roll. There it is. Pete, no! The barrier comes out and baits him away. Pete thought he had it, but Puszu escapes.
Flash and barrier down, though, so successful play from them. It did cost him an exhaust in reply, however. And the one thing I want you to keep an eye on is how many wards YellOwStaR has. With about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes coming up before the next buff spawn, he will place those wards down and try to get control of the map as Froggen finds a Cyanide.
Froggen tries to go through. Cyanide does catch on towards him. Quick stun card comes out, but here comes Xpeke to try and support him. Froggen taken very low here. Going to pass through a ward, so he's not exactly being sneaky, but Xpeke had no mana, so he couldn't really back that one up, despite the fact we also saw it was sOAZ coming to try and help out.
And the irony of Fnatic built with this very fast push, tower-oriented team, they're the ones with the tower on the back foot. Yellowpete and Krepo, along with Snoopeh, have put so much damage onto their top lane tower. YellOwStaR and Puszu can have a lot of work to do to hold on to this one.
So with the constant pressure that we've had in this top lane, we didn't really get a chance to actually mention that it is sOAZ in that mid lane up against Froggen. It is Xpeke down the bottom lane up against Wickd. So lane swaps between the lanes, Fnatic once again.
And it's something that they're doing more and more often based on their matchup and based against the opponents they're playing against. And I think it's because of the head-to-heads. Xpeke will be able to deal damage to Yorick with those ice shards. Those Qs will explode and deal damage in a cone after the target they hit, which means Yorick's ghouls no longer act as body blockers or skill shot blockers.
So he's just simply using the lane. And look at that, 72.7% win rate and 22 picks. That is a huge win rate percentage for Lissandra here in the European LCS. But again, as we mentioned, doesn't really get picked up in North America. And to be honest, not a lot in Korea or China either.
No, we've definitely seen it used in the GPL a couple of times as a support player, actually. But not as those solo laners. For the first time, Wickd is going to start backing away. Destiny's being channeled. They're going top.
Froggen going in. He's going to catch on towards YellOwStaR. YellOwStaR will go down. Successful gank there. Puszu trying to turn it around, but it's going to be a little insane there. He would have almost been up against a 4v1 if it had carried on that pursuit. Wisely steps away. That turret is very low on hit points as well, so potentially we could see EG taking the first turret of the game, despite the fact they're up against a fast push Fnatic.
And EG are going to continue doing that this entire match. Because of the pressure that Nunu Caitlyn lane offers, they're going to keep trying to shut Puszu down as much as possible. He's already 15 CS behind. He's lost his tower now, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to apply that focused damage on towers. In the mid lane, though, you can see that both sOAZ and Cyanide are continuing to attack.
Perfect timing here. There's going to be the Lantern. The blue buff has just respawned. Are Fnatic going to be able to react to this one and go for the EG blue buff? We are seeing YellOwStaR. He wants to sneak in. He's got a ward there. Can't quite get around. The smite wasn't in range. They do take this middle turret down, though. That was Cyanide and sOAZ doing work with Xpeke. Now they're maneuvering for the blue buff.
I'm not 100% sure I agree with the decision making there. They stole a blue buff in exchange for losing a tower. I think Evil Geniuses could have responded to that tower push and then gone as a four-man unit to actually steal the blue. Right now they end up trading buffs, so there's actually nothing gained or lost here except Fnatic got their first tower of the game.
Yeah, and it looks like they may well take Dragon as well, which is going to help them out. Or will it? No. Nope.
Xpeke just uses that glacial path to get over and clear the terrain to farm up.
That's the Claw of Doom, if you don't mind.
The Claw of Doom.
That's the correct phrase for that.
I had forgotten it had been renamed in Europe.
Yes, indeed it has. Yellowpete takes a big shock blast to the side there, and it looks like Evil Geniuses, they want to position for the Dragon. There is a pink ward in one of those death bushes, so that's going to give Fnatic vision right now, and they are maneuvering to try and defend this one.
Against a Nunu with Smite and Consume and a Lee Sin with that execute power in his Q and Smite, Snoopeh's going to be on point, and if they do it quickly enough, he doesn't even need to.
Did it very quickly. In fact, the Fnatic were trying to gather, trying to position, trying to collapse in and around them, but weren't in position quick enough. So it does mean that Evil Geniuses keep that gold lead. It's around about 1,800 gold just at the moment. Let's have a look towards the builds. We can see, obviously, Pete was ahead in terms of CS. He's also scored himself that Bilgewater Cutlass, along with the Doran's Blade and boots that he had earlier on, which does put him ahead of Puszu, which is dangerous territory already. For a Caitlyn to be behind on a Vayne already from the lane phase is not a good start.
No, definitely not. And I want to see how Puszu and YellOwStaR actually react now in these next 5 to 10 minutes, because the early gambit of double jungle Nunu backfired thanks to some good positioning from EG and the first blood they picked up. Then in lane, thanks to a gank by Snoopeh and a gank by Froggen, they weren't able to get that smite push strat really working. So for the first time, they got a very big wave against EG's top lane tower, and we'll see how much damage they can get down.
Once again, Snoopeh comes down to help out, puts the Wither down on Xpeke, and goes to work on taking down the next turret of the game. Fnatic doing the same in the top lane, though. They're going to take it down first as well. That's going to give Fnatic a 2v1 turret advantage for a brief period of time. Xpeke forced the flash away there as he got hooked in and flayed by Krepo. Doing work on him, but that will be another turret eventually going to drop. There's the one in the top lane. This bottom turret, I'm not too sure whether it's going to go, whether Cyanide and Xpeke quite have enough to defend this one out.
So they're trading objectives right now. The tower should go down. Cyanide and Xpeke doing the best they can. They've caught Xpeke.
They've caught him out. Krepo's going to go down, though. Is it enough? A great ulti comes out from Xpeke. That's going to lock them down. Pete had used his ultimate to try and block him out from that one, but wow. A good turnaround by Fnatic.
Yeah, so crucially, Xpeke becomes untargetable when he throws that ultimate on himself, and it meant that Yellowpete couldn't put any more damage on him. Krepo tanked up a couple too many tower hits. He didn't even get to use his exhaust there because he got dropped so quickly.
Yeah, once he got kicked in there, but Cyanide may have stuck around, but here comes the teleport. It's going to be Xpeke rejoining the party. Cyanide having to get condemned away by Pete. There's going to be the Claw of Doom. He should be able to catch the stunner towards Pete. There it is. Pete gets locked in. Now he's going to use the barrier. The flash comes out, but Cyanide follows it straight through with the kick. Manages to lock on towards him. Ace in the hole used on Wickd. That's just going to force him away there, and it was another great pickup by Fnatic.
Very good skirmish there for Fnatic, and Cyanide just timing his resonating strike, waiting till the flash went down, and following Vayne over the wall. Now, Froggen has been given time to push the top lane tower to the inner one, while Fnatic are now bashing on the outer bottom lane tower.
But I feel that it's going to be, this outer turret will go down. I don't think Wicked's quite got enough harassing him here. A flash,
That's a flash
coming out from YellOwStaR. Not too sure where he was going with that one. Instead, that was...
He flash smited. He hit the wrong key accidentally. I'm willing to bet that's a misclick from YellOwStaR, because he's not used to running smite in the lane, and that's one of the victims. But nevertheless, tower has been defended for the time being.
It gets held off for a short period of time, but as we could say, could be said for sOAZ, he stopped Froggen in that top lane. Krepo is going to be warding out. Peke's returned himself to the mid lane now that his duties of defending the bottom are complete. And let's have a look, a moment, to just actually look across what these players have been building. So let's look at Peke. Peke's got himself that needly large rod, so will he either go for a... I think he's probably going to go for a Rabadon's death cap quick and early here. Meanwhile, Wickd, who's technically been in the same lane against him for a long period of time, he's fell behind in the CF, 79. The mid laners, which is effectively sOAZ right now, 121 to Froggen's 115. Something you don't often see with Froggen being behind on CS.
Yeah, the thing with that, though, is because Froggen has been responding to ganks and using that Destiny he used at the top lane, he lost his tower fairly early on as well. I think that his focus has been more on his opponents than it is on CSing. In addition, he's picked up 2 kills, so he doesn't need to sit back and farm because he's got a bunch of extra gold thanks to those kills.
Yeah, indeed. Which is why you can see his source boots along with that sheen. Is he going to go for a Lich Bane early on here? Is he maybe going to go get in that Zhonya's as quick as possible?
I think that Froggen will most likely go for a Lich Bane earlier because of the tower pressure from Fnatic. If Froggen is then responding with tower pressure in kind by himself, it means Fnatic have to deal with him by sending champions his way. So that's what my gut's telling me. I also think that Peke is most likely going to go for an Hourglass first. And I think that because of the physical damage threat from the Yorick, the Nasus, the Vayne, it'll also give him the armor that he needs and even more seconds of invulnerability. If he goes in with the Claw of Doom, stuns somebody up with his Glacial Tomb, and then he can Zhonya's to be safe.
Well, blue buffs being picked up in their own jungles for the first time of the game. Just 14 minutes gone into this match. The Dragon will be up shortly, and Evil Geniuses have a slightest of advantages. It was around about 1,800 gold at one point though, and you can see it's only about 600 now. Things definitely starting to tilt back in towards Fnatic's favor, but they have to start putting the pressure on here.
Well, the pressure's going to come from Evil Geniuses. They have the timing on the Dragon as well as some vision there. It's going to be up in the next 45 seconds, as you can see. Froggen just went back to pick himself up a needlessly large rod and the Amp Tome, so he's going to go straight for that Hourglass like you were talking about. And you can see they're already moving towards this bottom half of the map. EG want the tower, then to roll back for the Dragon, and we'll see if they can get both.
There is the second tower. That keeps their gold advantage just to a 1,000. And look at this, immediately making positioning, getting ready for that Dragon to be spawning. Of course, you can see Wickd is in that mid lane, so close by 5 members of Evil Genius is already and waiting while we see Puszu and YellOwStaR both went back to base along with Peke. It's going to be 14 seconds. They may be able to get back in time, but they're going to be well out of position. Yeah,
it's going to be very, very risky. Cyanide may be able to steal. Lisand's one of the best stealing objective things in the game. We'll see how well it can work out. We can also see Yellowpete. He was thinking about recalling. I would think he would cancel it. They're going to stall. So the idea here, I think, is EG is going to try to position to stall. They didn't know where their opponents were. They don't have deep wards. And they were like, well, we don't want to hang around yet because we could be jumped by 5 members of Fnatic.
Yeah, he completed the Blade of the Rune King, so I guess he felt they needed that little power spike coming into it. They wasn't quite sure. Also, Puszu pushing for the assume Infinity Edge, although he's got a bit of a both ways. Here it could go Bloodthirster. Let's see which way he does swing. Generally, the Infinity Edge on Caitlyn, though, is the item of choice. Yellowpete has got himself back to the Dragon, so let's see whether EG try and set up for this.
I also think that that additional Vamp Scepter a little bit earlier on the Caitlyn is because they don't have any sustain, and if they want to continue focusing on towers, you can just allow Caitlyn to heal up on those minion waves, get that headshot proc, and get a nice big chunk of HP back in between these little skirmishes and these tower pressures. Allows him to stay in lane for longer.
Pete is keeping himself farming. Played an incredible Vayne yesterday, and so far so good. 0-1-2 compared to 0-1-0 for Puszu. but he's kind of going blind here. He's got one ward above him in the tri-bush, but yeah, as soon as someone shows, he's stepping well away from that one. Absolutely nothing down the river, so no cover there at all.
Yeah, so I want to keep tabs on how this little pressure from YellOwStaR works, because the counter jungling has not really come into play because Fnatic fell a little bit behind early, so he hasn't been allowed to roam maybe quite as much as they wanted. In addition, you just seen him using that smite in lane right now while Cyanide comes to help out, and they might just try focus the tower down. That's just to secure the tower safely.
Yeah, he'd kind of been pinging it. It's like, guys, it's really guys. So EG have really realized that if they are going to give up this turret, they have to try and make something of it. We do see Froggen using that ultimate destiny to try and figure out his position. He's going to go to mid turret, so that's where they want to put the pressure on. Instead, they're going straight for Dragon.
So they're going to be able to back away. The wave clear from sOAZ's Jace is very good, which just makes life a little more difficult taking town on, especially without Vayne. However, Yellowpete's been able to heal up, and he's got himself to the Dragon, but this is going to be a full 5-on-5. Peck is teleporting in from behind. He's going to use the Claw of Doom.
He's going to try and get straight in towards it. There it is. There's the Claw of Doom. Will he be able to lock up the team? The Dragon is very, very low. They're going to try and lock it up. Peck gets taken down first, though. Snoopeh low. He's going to get caught with the absolute zero. Not quite enough damage. It gets finished off by sOAZ. Then there's a lock-up on Cyanide. Cyanide gets taken down with the stun. Didn't see which way the Dragon went in all of that.
Cyanide got it.
2-for-1. And Cyanide's death, well, it was worth it if he picked up the Dragon.
Definitely going to be worth it indeed, and we actually seen how quickly Pekka went down. He's decided to go for the death cap first instead of the hourglass, and that, I think, is a mistake. It could have actually helped them if he'd had that armor and that survivability in the team fight. Right now, though, 3 members of Fnatic defending against 3 members of EG.
Doing a good job defending. sOAZ comes in, drops the hammer, clears the minions. Krepo tried to throw out that hook, wasn't quite going to land it. Froggen moved himself into that bottom lane, but there was gold picked up by both teams. Let's see what goes back and buys. Both Ruby Sidestones picked up by the supports. No surprise there. There is the Zhonya's Hourglass now for Froggen, so he went for that one for the first item. Brutalizer being completed by sOAZ along with that pickaxe and longsword, so Last Whisper not too far away as well to go with that Manamune that's been built up ever so slowly.
Yeah, stacking itself up along the way, 428 at the moment, so he's on track for that sort of 23 to 25 minute mirror mana, and they're doing pretty well. Fnatic are staying even on gold with EG, but they haven't necessarily made big plays outside of that Dragon. That was the first aggressive move that they've made. Pekka teleported him from behind. He managed to get that Glacial Tomb down, but unfortunately, they didn't have enough damage to close out the team fight. So they'll probably wait until that teleport's available again, unless they catch someone out of position.
It looks like the positioning may be a case of charging up mid. 5 members of Fnatic. You can see Puszu is a little bit further behind, and actually he's starting to take a bit of a detour. But the rest of Fnatic really want to try and drive forward and try and get this middle turret. We are looking at the blue buff that Froggen is about to clear out. Wickd out of position, passing straight over a ping ward. He's going to get locked up here. I don't see any escape for him.
No, he's been locked in place. That's a kill.
That's a kill. Oh, maybe he flashes away, gets in towards the bush. Invisible as it is, he is actually still alive.
So is
when they go for him, they have confidence to take sOAZ down. Cyanide comes in, finally makes the kill, but he gets stunned out there. Snoopeh manages to get the wither on him. Is it going to be enough? No, Destiny comes out from Froggen, stuns him up. Snoopeh manages to get the final death blow. So despite the fact Fnatic thought they'd sprung a beautiful trap on Wickd, you couldn't take him down. That Yorick is so strong, it turns into a 2-for-1 for EG.
So beefy and so tanky. He gets the Omen of Death down. Now Puszu might be in trouble.
Pushu's going to get caught out. Snoopeh doesn't get followed up help, though. Instead, they choose to go for that tower, and wisely so. Froggen and Pete putting a lot of burn down on towards it. An inner turret for 2 kills as well. Krepo comes around the side. He kind of gets caught out, turns back in there. He wants to throw out that hook. Instead, the wild cards from Froggen is enough to drive him home. So for inner turret, 2-for-1. Worth it.
Completely worth it, and that was exactly the strength of Evil Genius's composition. If they are available in a 5v5 or a 4v4 situation, their team is stronger. It's better in the team fights. Fnatic were able to find a skirmish, but they couldn't take out the Spirit Visage, Glacial Shroud, Wicked, Yorick very quickly enough, and that basically cost them. He got his ulti down, he flashed away, and he survived for a couple seconds longer.
Just held on longer and longer, and, well, everybody knows how much of a pain Yorick is to play against. It's seemingly proven here by Fnatic as well. Wickd just stepping, hopping, skipping off to the side there as sOAZ Xpeke returns. Cyanide waiting in the wings to see if he could get anything out there. Blue buff ward, red buff ward, sorry, being put out by YellOwStaR. There's a big wave on that top lane, but again, it's Fnatic. They're trying to group themselves up. They want to push in the mid lane. Instead, they're going to head down the bottom. They've seen Pete and they're thinking, could we trap him?
We'll have to see how it works out. The last time they tried to push in that mid lane, they didn't have Caitlyn with them. Now, Yellowpete has just started to back off. I think he'll run out of time. This is going to be a very close recall if YellOwStaR can find him.
YellOwStaR goes straight into the bush, catches him out. There's going to be the Ice Blast. There's going to be the Absolute Zero. Uses his Vayne ultimate to try and stealth away from this one, but I don't think he's going to turn it around. He may well get YellOwStaR down, though, so it could be a 1-for-1. Condemns away Puszu. Is it enough? Tries to get the lifesteal. No, Puszu finishes him off.
YellOwStaR like a boss with the Vayne mechanics, so it doesn't get hooked.
Oh, Froggen actually almost got on towards sOAZ. sOAZ avoids that hook like you mentioned, and now Fnatic, they're going to try and use their positional advantage. They want to push up the mid lane, and EG a little bit out of position here.
It's very important that Vayne is down. If they decide to go for a fight under the tower, that's a lot of damage that's not available to them. So you can see that on the side, Krepo's a little bit out of position. He's managed to catch Xpeke.
Oh, but straight away, Froggen's there with the stun card. Xpeke taken very low and dropped instantaneously. There's the Destiny. Cyanide's not going to be able to escape this one. The wild cards come out. He does manage to kick Xpeke away. Destiny's going to be used. Tries to get across the side, though. But would you believe it? Lee-Sin, that slippery soccer, gets away again.
Froggen a little too greedy. He thought that his teammates had Cyanide, so he decided to chase down YellOwStaR instead. But both of them managed to get away. Now, very, very importantly, this is an attempt at a two-man Baron. We're going to see the Nasus ultimate going down. They've decided to back away.
Yeah, they were trying to go for it, but they thought, guys, we can actually catch sOAZ out here as well. Pete was coming straight down the mid lane, so maybe if it had gone in position, they could have gone for it, but wisely, Evil Geniuses do decide to back out from that early Baron. So many times we've seen teams caught out by that. And
very, very importantly, during the course of the last little farming session, Xpeke has actually just finished his Zhonya's Hourglass before completing what looked to be a death cap. And I think it's a victim of his own circumstances. He's seen the team fights and how they went, and he realizes he needs that couple extra seconds of survivability in those fights. In addition, Last Whisper completed for sOAZ as Jace. We've already seen how much damage he's dealing in the previous fights. That's just going to get amplified even more.
We do see Pete clearing out the waves, and in terms of AD carrier, still very much even between them. Oh, Pete, if he pulls that ward down, he might just be able to get away from this one. It's going to be close, so, sidestep there on Cyanide. Then goes straight back on towards Xpeke, but that's going to be the ace in the hole. Will it be enough to take him low enough? No. Stealth mechanics, but that may well give the Dragon across to Fnatic. He's going to be forced away from this one. He's going to try and lifesteal it back. He's going to crop to Wolves. Wolves are not there, though, so he can't get any lifesteal back. The death sentence just missing out on towards YellOwStaR. And EG not really in a great position to fight for this Dragon. And
they've also just missed a ward. Fnatic have not seen that EG ward they were walking over, so they were clearing out the bush, and they may think that there's a little bit of vision superiority. If YellOwStaR goes back in there, they'll eventually get it down. Right now, EG, they're buying time for Yellowpete to sustain and get those health back off the Wraith camp, and we may have another fight soon.
They do manage to get those wards down, as you mentioned, but immediately Krepo sneaks it back in there. Wickid's trying to be that annoying tank up the front line, but have they got the damage to back it up? That's the question. Froggen's waiting in the wings. Yellowpete has managed to get himself healthy enough. Krepo takes a shock blast. It doesn't really take them low enough. They still can't go for that Dragon, and now EG might try and push in the mid lane.
Yeah, EG are going to take the tower. This is something we see all the time. They pick the tower up thanks to better positioning, but here's a fight. Snoopeh's gone low.
Snoopeh takes a lot of damage there as well from that one, but they may be happy to just simply trade a Dragon here, but I'm not too sure. EG looking like they want to fight. Xpeke goes in, locks them all up. Very nicely done. Absolute Zero layered on. Perfect engagement by Fnatic here. They're dropping them like flies. Cyanide, though, has been taken down. Yellowpete doing work at the back there. You can see YellOwStaR. He's going to try and chase him down just on the top there. Meanwhile, can they turn it back around? Has he got the Vayne mechanics to keep Xpeke at bay? He doesn't. He gets locked up. He gets stunned. Puszu picks up the kill there. Froggen, though, just off the side. He managed to take down sOAZ. There's another wildcard. Gets a second. Flashes through. Puszu trying to chase on towards him. Where's Froggen going to have to go here? Not got a great deal of mana. Xpeke coming around the side, but Xpeke's also low on mana and hit points. Gets the stun card ready with Lich Bane glowing. And instead, everybody chooses wisely to just step away from the fight. This is dangerous territory for every team.
3 for 2, and even with a picture-perfect engage for Fnatic, they still come out on the second hand. They come out second best. They managed to get a couple of targets quickly, but because they completely ignored Froggen, he just wiped them out from the side. Picked up 2 kills basically single-handedly, and EG will just be a little more cautious about how they pick those engagements in future.
Puszu, though, getting himself a giant wave down the bottom here. That's going to step him ahead in farming over Yellowpete. The fact that they have got equal kills now will help him out. Froggen gets himself that blue buff, and Dragon, which is what it all started over, has been begun by Evil Geniuses. Cyanide, though, is ready and waiting.
So not only did Evil Geniuses get the mid lane tower from that previous fight, they got an additional kill, and they're probably going to get this dragon unless Cyanide has an awesome steal. Depends on the Sonic Wave, decides against it at the end.
So Dragon, after all that, does go to Evil Geniuses. That gives them that 3,000 gold advantage now. Froggen goes back. Top Wave has got a big minion stack actually on towards the inner turret of Evil Geniuses. So Fnatic will have got some damage done on that despite by passively pushing those minions.
The one thing I still want to keep my eyes on is this YellOwStaR smite, because I'm in two minds as to what the original tactic was from Fnatic. If they wanted it for lane pressure or if they wanted it for basically double jungle, because neither have really come to fruition. We do have double sight stones for Cyanide and YellOwStaR, one on each of them, but they haven't been able to get into their opponent's jungle to actually make that smite consume work. So we'll still have to see how YellOwStaR continues to use that ability as we hit the 30-minute mark.
One thing's for sure, it's a double threat when Baron comes around, if and when they get to it.
Quadruple threat.
Or quadruple, technically,
because
yeah. The consume.
2 smites, consume, and the resonating strike from Lee Sin. That's a lot of percentage HP damage, which means EG are going to be way more hesitant about starting a Baron unless they're 100% sure they can either sneak it or they can take it uncontested.
We'll see how it works out. Runic Bulwark has been completed by Snoopeh, something we may not be seeing so heavily used by teams in 3.10. Certainly a point of contention. And speaking of that Baron, there's a hell of a lot of wards been placed around there by Fnatic, so they are ready and waiting for that one. Also, EG have put a number down there themselves. Krepo with the Oracle stacked up, trying to sniff out any wards. Froggen actually waiting in the bottom lane. He's waiting to see if Xpeke or sOAZ is going to get baited into this wave and see if they're split pushing, because that's ordinarily would be their tactic. Instead, EG are going to maneuver. They want to try and push on towards this bottom lane, try and steal away that red, but they are well out of position now.
It's very confident positioning. They felt that Fnatic were going to deal with the big wave of minions in the top lane, and with all of the wards that Fnatic's got you, they know that this is not the target. Destiny's being used, so they are in full vision as the Baron is down to half health. It does look like it can appeal. They don't have enough damage to drop it super quickly just yet.
And they're going to try and cut them off here, maybe EG. Are they going to go for it? Spirit Fire could have been used to just poke them and say, yep, we know you've all backed away. They're going to instead take positional advantage. Snoopeh's going to tank up this turret. They're going to get a good amount of damage on towards this inner turret. It won't be enough to take it down, but nevertheless, they took a third health off it.
Yeah, so very good play. They've managed to deal with the top lane tower, but very crucially for Fnatic, they've got Destiny on cooldown. So it's still going to be another minute before it's up and available. And it's that window of security of like, hey, we can pick a fight knowing that that's not going to be used.
Well, the inner turret on the top lane is being pushed, and Puszu's gone to try and clear that wave out. Froggen throws out those wild cards along with that Lich Bane. Going to be doing a lot of damage, and it seems to be a battle of pokes really. Wild cards versus shock blasts back and forward. And Pete's bought himself some time, so he's going to get himself some free farm.
I'm interested to see if Pete completes this Guardian Angel. And the reason I'm interested is because you've got a Yorick on your team, where the Yorick ultimate is going to bring you back to life in a team fight. So he's going to have the second lease on life with the GA and the Yorick ulti. I would have expected maybe a little more damage, maybe Last Whisper as a third item and then GA as a fourth. But we'll see how quickly he does decide to skill that up. He's got about 1,300 gold on him, so not too far off completing that GA.
In the moment Pete showed himself in the bottom, Fnatic tried to push, tried to maneuver for that Baron once again with the Oracle on YellOwStaR. They do clear out the pit, so they've taken every ward that Evil Geniuses have managed to stack around there away from this one. But also, in the same vein, you've also had Fnatic's wards pretty much all timing out as well. So not a great deal of vision currently around that Baron pit. And Froggen, he's continuing his split push back down that bottom lane. Destiny is back available.
That's going to be the next sort of challenge here for Fnatic, is getting some vision back. You can see they've got very defensive wards in their half of the jungle, which are now being cleared, mostly being cleared up by Krepo, because he's not using attack move in that little step. And once Fnatic get vision again, they'll maybe look to bait EG into a fight. If they can insta-gib Yellowpete before the Omen of Death goes on him, it can work in their favor. They can pick up a fight, but that's their priority target in these engagements.
sOAZ actually took a bit of a power spike, the fact that Manamina has been completed. Cyanide getting hooked in there. That would be a great start for Evil Geniuses, but just to get away, you can't pin down Elise in that easily.
And the ace in the hole chunks down Yellowpete to about 55-60% of his total HP. He'll lifesteal most of this back up. but it's a very good little start there for Fnatic. Once that ace in the hole is back up, they can continue to keep that on YellOwPete as best as possible.
And full hit points. No problem. Red card from Froggen. He continues to clear those waves, gets the stacking of the gold. He's over 70 CS ahead of Xpeke now. We did mention like earlier on that he fell behind in CS at one minor stage, but the fact that he has been split pushing as you'd expect on Twisted Fate means he's stacking up that gold once again.
And the reason for the slowdown in the game right now is Fnatic's composition is not really tailored for team fights. You've seen in the previous part, they started it. Fnatic went all in, and they actually lost it. They came out behind, they lost a tower, they lost a dragon, all because of that. So Fnatic are a little more hesitant about starting those big fights, and EG, because they still got split up and pushed so far back, they're also a little scared about their engagements. You've been seeing Krepo tentatively hook after hook after hook, but he hasn't quite caught the fish that he wants to reel in yet.
Yeah, Nami's not playing, so he's throwing it blindly at the moment, it seems. Froggen is with that Oracle actually on Froggen now. Why not? Because he's got a lot of gold. It's safe to say, with all that farming, all those items he's already stacked up, it's going to be explosive when these teams finally decide to clash. A pink ward's been placed on Baron by Evil Geniuses now, so they're making sure they've got the vision, and sure enough, YellOwStaR sweeps in there to try and clear it out. Not too sure whether his Oracle has run out. No, it hasn't. He's going to get that pink. And he's double chugging the Oracles as well, so the very second that one wears off, he's got another one in his inventory already. Just really adding to the fact that Fnatic need vision and information for their composition to work. They need to be able to engage at the right time. Froggen is miles and miles away, so this is a 5v4.5 because there is a Guardian Angel and YellOwPete. They're going in on Snoopeh. They're trying to catch him out there. They do manage to kick him back in. He's going to get taken down before they can get involved. Here's the Destiny. Froggen comes in. They get on towards Cyanide. He gets dropped. It's a jungler for a jungler. Absolute zero in the bush. Will it be enough? Snoopeh does go down. That's going to be the ultimate usage of Wickd. Now Xpeke is going to be the focus target. There's going to be the stun card on towards him. That will be the death of him. And that is now the mid laner down. It's a 2-for-1, a 3-for-1, sorry. Evil Genius is coming out on top once again. For the second time this game, we see Fnatic creating an opportunity, creating a fight, but they couldn't blow the target up. The last time they tried to focus Wickd down, he got away barely, and EG managed to win the team fight. The same thing happened here, but Snoopeh got brought back to life by the omen of death of Yorick. And if Jace was dead, they would have gone for Baron, but because Jace can poke from range, they decided to play it safer. Yeah, a safe play, and why not? Because they have the advantage. They are ahead in kills 14-8, they are ahead in towers 4-3, and they are almost certainly ahead in gold, and that's just stretched to a 5,000 gold advantage, 51.4 to 46.4. Evil Geniuses are in an incredibly good position right now as far as the team versus the team composition is compared. As long as Froggen can control whatever attempted split push Fnatic puts on the map, EG can basically play this game at their tempo. The moment Fnatic wants to regain control, they need to force EG's hand, pick up a kill via, picking him off from the side lane or controlling them by split pushing, and then using their comp to its advantage. They need to get to towers. If Fnatic's not at a tower, they're on the back foot or they're at a disadvantage. And Froggen's miles ahead in gold. I think he was a clear 3,000. 4,000 ahead of anyone else on the map right now, including his own team. So he is a long way ahead and also a long way out of position right now. Destiny not available. Actually, tell a lie, it is back up. And there's no ward placement from Fnatic in that jungle. So actually, he's feeling confident. He may go for it on Xpeke here, He's definitely got the potential for it. The only problem is he's very deep. So the fear is that if anybody from Fnatic does get behind him, it's going to be a death. Interestingly, he's already built up 750 gold with his existing passive. If it was the new one, that would be 1,000 minimum. It's just a little tidbit of information. But it won't be for the rest of the team. But here we go. Destiny, they're going into Baron. It's going to be Evil Genius starting off. They know that there is a ward there, but they don't mind. They clear that one out. Fnatic, they have to react to this one. Teleport from Xpeke. It's going to come in from the ward just to the left-hand side there. They're going to see it coming in. The death sentence was sent out. Xpeke's going to get in. Does lock them up. Actually, only one member locked up there instead. Cyanide comes in, but the Baron has gone down. It's Snoopeh that picks that one up. YellOwStaR Xpeke taken down. It was Yellow, that's for sure. It was the Oracle. Sonya's Hourglass, that's the one I was after. I can never get that name right, would you thought, after shouting it out so many times. But nevertheless, Baron gets taken down, Xpeke gets dropped. It's Evil Geniuses in full control.
They have been in control for quite a while, and that was just their power play. They realized that Fnatic needed to throw everything at them, and they got Baron down before it even came into play. YellOwStaR tried to zone control with his ultimate, but he didn't even try to consume Smite Steal. They left that to Cyanide, who was out-smited by Snoopeh in that engagement. So Baron is up, minion wave is on, and against 4 members of Fnatic, they're trying to drop down the tower. That has been shredded.
Oh, Cyanide goes deep there. Is he going to get caught out? Wickd manages to get the slow on him. One more shot would have done from Yellowpete, but instead they're forced to back away from this one. sOAZ, can he land that Shock Blast combo? Because he'll be doing a lock here. Puszu actually getting withered finally from Snoopeh to prevent him, and they have to back away.
So they do hold on to the tower very, very shortly. Their tower's got a small amount of HP left, but well played by Fnatic to at least defend. The one thing that during the course of that entire fight happened, Wickd held on to his Omen of Death. He held on to that ultimate, which means that it wasn't needed at all. And as long as EG have that in their back pocket, not only do you have a GA Vayne, but she's going to have Omen of Death on top of her. You can have that extra ghost dealing the damage.
Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So, Evil Genius is now in control, and with an 8,000 gold lead, and a 2-tower advantage with that Baron. Which way will they go? Where will they keep split pushing? Froggen's going to back off. God only knows what he's going to buy. He's got himself an easily large rod already, so that's going to stack into a death cap. Death by grasp, of course. So he's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's already shredding towers, and he's got very good burst potential. Combine that with the DFG active, and that's going to be basically anybody dead. The one thing that I really like from EG as far as the itemization is concerned is they picked up 2 Frozen Hearts. And against a triple AD threat of Lissandra, Jason, Caitlyn, that's probably some of the best items you can grab. I wouldn't be surprised to see them going for a Randian's Omen next, because basically, Peck is not really a massive threat. They can focus him down, or they can survive his burst, and then just focus on the consistent damage over time threats of the AD.
So, Fnatic trying to regroup, trying to get themselves back into this one, pull themselves together a little bit. Doesn't seem to be working too well, though, and Evil Geniuses, they've got around about 70, 75 seconds left on that Baron. Let's see how they make use of it. Seems they are trying to trap out for this one, which is not sure the right idea to be doing. They should be the ones being aggressive, but I guess since it's been such a hesitant game for a while, they're kind of hesitant whether to push. Guardian Angels, though, on Yellowpete has really effectively made him not be the focus of target anymore. Guardian Angels potentially could get built on a number of members, but look at the Frozen Hearts now actually on Wickd and Snoopeh.
Yeah, the thing about the pace of the game and where we are, Fnatic's early game was so negatively affected by EG's focus on their duo lane that they never really got that double smite, that roaming support in play. He didn't get to invade the jungle. Outside of a little bit of damage in the mid lane, Fnatic have been defending against pushes the whole time. If that death sentence had landed, Krepo would definitely have gone in, put the box down. They managed to pick up their 6th tower of the game, and EG, it's their tempo. They've picked the speed, and they're in cruise control right now.
And that's possibly going to be another inhibitor turret. Will they finally get this one down in the middle? That's going to be the box from Krepo. They do manage to lock it up. Absolute Zero comes out. Destiny comes in. Froggen joins the party, but it's going to be Snoopeh that goes down. Xpeke has to use his ultimate. Didn't really lock anyone up, though. Tries to flash out of that one. Stun card comes out. Zonya's very nicely done. Perfectly timed on Froggen as well there. He manages to get out of it. No! sOAZ drops the hammer. Picks up 1. Picks up 2. Pushu on towards Krepo. Can they get another one? Yes, they will. Oh, the kick not quite landing on Pete. Pete with that Guardian Angel. He's going to get slowed down. Cyanide will get a second bite of the cherry. Condemn works out, but YellOwStaR gets him locked up. That's going to be Pete going down. GA will get popped, but he will drop eventually, and that is a clean ace from Fnatic.
Evil Genius is a little overconfident. They stuck under the tower even with their masses and masses of armor. Fnatic just peeled and rolled away from the threat so perfectly. Focused every single member of EG that dove beyond them, and then managed to pick up the ace. So with 5 seconds on the death timer before Snoopeh's back up, Fnatic should be able to get the tower, and if they're brave, they should be able to get the inhibitor.
They may go for this one, and why not? They've got the Blood Boil on towards... Actually, no, he'd put it on towards sOAZ instead of Puszu. Interesting choice, but instead they have gone for it. They're going to go towards the inhibitor, and they will get enough. Snoopeh's in there desperately trying to defend this one, pulling the Wither down, but after all the work that that EG did, trying to get that middle inhibitor. It's Fnatic that turn it around and take it down. That's why teams are so hesitant when they hit the 40-minute mark.
Snoopeh's ghosted up for this one. He's trying to get in range to put a wither down, but with only a support backing him up, Froggen does have Destiny available, so if any CC had landed, it could have worked for them, but decided against it.
Yeah, they thought they could try and maybe lock anyone really up there. Instead, the Dragon is up, and that looks like where Evil Geniuses are going to turn towards. And honestly, this game is on a tender hook right now. We've just seen Super Minions now. 4 Fnatic will be going up that mid lane. That's kind of where Evil Geniuses wanted to be hitting. They need to reset their battle plan here because that kind of backfired on them.
Yeah, it even caught me by surprise. I was just saying they were in cruise control, and then all of a sudden they do a 5-man tower dive, which I was not anticipating at all. Yes, they were right to be confident in their positioning and in their play right now, but even with their items and their team comp, I don't think that tower dive is something they'll be repeating or wanting to repeat, because they can't simply completely single out a target and remove them. You've got Hourglasses in play, you've got Caitlyn who's got massive range, so Froggen's going to go extremely deep if he wants to get, like, you know, his DFG and all the damage onto Puszu's Caitlyn. And at the time being, they're just going to try fend off these super waves.
And one thing that Pete's got, he's got good defense, but he hasn't got incredible damage, actually. Now, I come to think of it. He's got that Blade of Rinkin, which he had from very early on. He's got the Phantom Dancer in there, so sure, he's going to be hitting hard and fast with the Last Whisper, but I would have thought he'd gone for another damage item now.
So he'll probably pick up a Bloodthirster as his 6th item, and it's actually pretty standard on Vayne's, partially because your Tumble's in a 2-second cooldown. It adds 100 damage on every Tumble. Your Condemn gives you a couple hundred damage, and your Silver Bolt is massive damage. And every 3rd shot, 8% of maximum health as true damage, which is a very big number. So it's more about prolonged damage over multiple hits, whereas Caitlyn, it's all just about right-click damage for each individual shot.
Well, Baron will be up in 2 seconds, 1 second, pop, there he is. He's ready and waiting, and the rest of the teams are not quite there. EG starting to get their wards out, Fnatic with no ward placement actually. Cyanide getting slowed down, Ace and a whole use on Wickd, and a shock blast on him as well.
Considering the amount of armor that Wickd has, he's at 257. That is pretty good. The thing that EG's going to be careful about now is the positioning on Fnatic, and they're playing the map game right now.
And Lich Bait on Froggen means he can get straight in on that turret, and then Twisted Fate's doing what he does best, gets in towards that inhibitor turret, puts a lot of damage down, forces the rest of Fnatic to back away. With the Home Guard boots, they will get back and defend that turret, but they know it's cost them a Baron.
Such brilliant psychological play from Evil Geniuses. They've basically baited Fnatic to say, go for it, go down the middle lane, we'll take your tower. Baron has just been secured and Fnatic are overextended. Destiny's out and here comes Froggen!
Destiny used, managed to get the stun card on towards Puszu. Wildcards came out, Wickd tries to go deep in the middle and Fnatic were like grouping up actually. They were kind of ready for that one. Froggen used that Destiny to get to the side. There's super minions now in the base of EG. They have to get back and defend them.
The acceleration gate was crucial in getting away from that, in disengaging. Once Fnatic realized they were being surrounded, they popped that E from Jace and just belted it down the lane. The super minions are on the Nexus turrets, and I think their inhibitor is going to respawn shortly, so EG will be in defensive mode for the next couple of minutes.
Ooh, that Nexus turret was taken low. Look at that. It's below half health. They did a lot of work on that one, so they were in danger of actually losing out on that one. So it was all a case of race of numbers, race of time. EG seemed to time it just about right. They have that gold advantage. They are going to lose their blue buff, which is semi-crucial for Froggen to keep that Destiny on cooldown. And you can see they're sat ready and waiting. They want to catch Froggen out. It's Froggen they almost certainly know is going to go for it. And see whether he goes in there, but instead he's happy farming on the top at the moment.
Yeah, we'll have to see how Fnatic react. They may wait for the minion wave to just get to the tower and then push onto the tower. What I'd like to see is how Wickd survives in this next fight, because he's amplified his armor to 327 and he's got a Thorn Mail to back himself up, but he is relatively low on HP, only 2,400. We'll see how effective that is as Fnatic's Death Bush is waiting in the wings.
Oh, Krepo. He finds the hook as well, but Xpeke comes in, gets the lock-up on towards him. Is it going to be enough to turn it around? Krepo does get taken down. Cyanide tries to get away with the safeguard. Destiny comes out. They manage to take vision of them. Absolute zero in the bush from YellOwStaR. They're going to see it happening, surely. Krepo actually getting taken very low. He does get dropped now. Froggen comes in, throws out the wild card. Cyanide tries to get the lock in there. Wickd manages to go deep. Isn't really going to follow it with enough damage. It's a 1 for 0 so far, but look at YellowPete. He goes in, gets down on Puszu. Oh, Deathclaw just to get away from Xpeke, but it is a Vayne chasing you down. He's going to try and use some of that lifesteal to get in there. They should be able to get back in time to try and get him towards this inhibitor.
Brilliant play from Wickd. He brings Krepo back from beyond the grave, and the Ghost of Christmas Past puts the box down, slowing all of Fnatic on their retreat from the blue buff. Then Wickd just tanks up all of the auto attack damage, and the Thornmail did so much work on the Fnatic members. So their inhibitors respawn. EG actually came out pretty good that trade. They lost a support, but they picked up the AD carry, and that's very crucial for them.
But while that all happened, Fnatic's minions took down the top inner turret, so inadvertently they do manage to get themselves an objective, which could well have been a tactical ploy in the first place, and does mean that Pete once again has to farm out, like you mentioned, building up probably that bloodthirst that he's going to get in there.
It'll be an Infinity Edge.
Infinity Edge. Oh, he wants the full damage stack.
Yeah, being Infinity Edge, he's going to rely on the 20-odd% lifesteal from that Blade of the Ruined King, and basically with a Phantom Dancer and IE, that's going to be a terrifying amount of damage. He's 282 attack damage right now in comparison to the 311 on Puszu, but to be fair, he does have the Baron buff as well.
We'll see, he's about to go back. Boom, there it is, IE. Big, shiny, yellow sword. I don't know how you actually fire bolts with swords, but they're going to be big.
Yeah, there was some awesome artwork in the new League of Legends websites of Ashe with a bow and arrow shooting each of the respective swords as arrows, and I basically think that's how Yellowpete's Vayne is currently doing it. That is a terrifying Vayne at full build. He's only really going to be looking towards those elixirs once he does give it a little bit more goals.
So Evil Genius is back in position that they were before.
No tower though, so that works in their favor.
Yeah, no tower. They've got their inhibitor back as well, so they're actually equal playing ground. 7th and 6th into the turrets, of course, because they haven't taken down the, I'm trying to see which one is the bottom inner turret of Evil Geniuses, but nevertheless, the hook comes out, not quite going to find his target just yet.
The standoff is on, and that's Locket of the Iron Slurry already used there by Krepo, so the shield has been blown. They were anticipating the dive from Xpeke. They were expecting that Claw of Doom to come in, and I think without that shield, they've decided to back away. Fnatic have got a very mobile team. With that Blood Ball and that Acceleration Gate, they will chase you down if you're trying to run away.
Oh, they didn't get onto them. That's going to be... Froggen is going to get the blue buff. Remember, it was stolen away from him by Fnatic in that position. And, well, approaching the 48-minute mark, I can't actually fault the teams for delaying on this one. I've got to be honest, because this is so tense, and both of them realize that whoever gets the advantage will win the game right now.
And there's 2 minutes until the next Baron spawns. Evil Geniuses already have 2. They're sitting in the bushes right now. There's the Claw, and here comes Fnatic!
They're on a ward, they lock them up, the wombo combo comes out. Will it be enough? 3 managed to go down. It will be finished off there. Froggen's just off at the side, though, throwing out those wildcards. That's going to be a second, but it's going to be the Wicked's ultimate that stops it. Snoopeh manages to get away with a sliver of health. The Piltover over Peacemaker, not quite enough. And Snoopeh does dodge out of that. And despite that perfect execution by Fnatic, they only got Wickd.
Only Wickd and the ghost of Wickd. That Omen of Death brought him back to life. He managed to play a meat shield and block a lot of the damage from killing off Snoopeh. But that was a 4 versus 3 engagement that did work in favor of Fnatic. EG not working with as much vision as they needed to make that play stick.
Wow. So Fnatic, despite the burst damage, the potential, the layered ultimates, it all seemed perfect for them. It looked like EG were just going to wilt in the red bush there. But no, wasn't to be. Fnatic couldn't quite get through that meat shield.
Yeah, and EG's only burst damage is from Froggen. The only burst that they have comes from that DFG, Gold Card, Lichbane, Active, Twisted Fate. The rest of it's sustained. Sustained damage from Nasus, sustained damage from Yorick, as well as that Vayne. So in a bursty fight, the Jace with his Shock Blast, accelerated Shock Blast combos, and Lissandra is always going to win out those engagements.
So Fnatic, they kind of have, or feel they have, a little bit of positional advantage. The Baron will be up in 30 seconds time, which is why you can see them desperately running around with that Oracle, trying to get those ward placements out, trying to get a foothold on the Baron map area. But while this is all happening, Froggen's buying himself time. His Destiny will be up in a moment, and he's actually waiting, delaying in that bottom lane. He's seeing if anybody's going to react. sOAZ reacts to it. he's probably going to back off.
Yeah, there was no vision there for Froggen to work with, so he's playing this patiently, he's waiting for people to reveal themselves, and he knows he hasn't been spotted. He's got an Oracle's Elixir running, so he's been walking himself along and keeping tabs on everybody's positions. And we do see finally Xpeke responds, and the question is whether or not Froggen actually wants to pick a fight, because with his hourglasses, that's going to be a skill matchup on who can kill who.
Well, he actually stuck around, hasn't gone back just yet. With that Destiny up, he can cover half the map roughly. And now he's actually going to sneak in behind the next minion wave while the rest of Fnatic had backed off. They may try and just push straight through the middle and take that inhibitor turret. Instead, they're going to get straight towards Krepo, and he is melted where he stands. There's the Destiny. Where's Xpeke go? Sorry, Froggen going to come from. Comes in at the side. But sOAZ instantly locked up. Zhonya's hourglass does a bit of Saturday Night Fever there, Froggen. Does manage to take down YellOwStaR. sOAZ had to back away from that fight. Puszu gets taken down. Xpeke incredibly low. The Wither comes in towards him. You can see that's going to be one going down, though, just off the side. It will be Yellowpete that gets locked up. Cyanide's low. Xpeke's gone down. One more shot should be enough. It's going to be Snoopeh with the triple kill. Would you believe it? That Nasa's Q must be doing incredible damage at this stage of the game. And sOAZ, well, he got away with absolutely nothing. EG, 3 members alive, are going to try and push through and finish the game. Even though EG won that team fight, Fnatic killed Yellowpete 3 times. He came back from the Omen of Death, he came back from a Guardian Angel, and just completely shredded that fight. At the end of it, because Snoopeh was so beefy and tanky with the armor and the HP, he just ran through everybody. So they picked up their first inhibitor. They should be able to get the second one, and maybe even roll back for Baron. Well, they have a giant creep wave on the bottom as well, so they might be able to roll around and pick up 3 inhibitors here. Instead, they've chosen to back away. sOAZ with their shock blast didn't really do a great deal on Snoopeh, as you just saw there. Big creep wave along the bottom, big creep wave on the top and the middle. They have to just deal with this one, Fnatic, and it seems that EG, they're not going to go Baron, they're not going to risk it, they're going to play it safe and back off once again. So what they're probably going to do now is wait for those super minions to push into the base. Once the super minions are there, they can decide to either siege the Nexus turrets, the bottom lane, or the Baron. And it just depends on what they value more highly. My assumption would be Baron first, followed by bottom lane tower, then closing out the game. You see big numbers coming out from Puszu, but is it enough? Is he going to be able to sustain? Remember, there's no GA this time around. There always is going to be the ultimate from Wickd, so despite the fact Yellowpete will have 2 lives in the next fight, or will he? Because it's been used a number of times. It hasn't just been saved for Pete, it's been used for Snoopeh a number of times already. Froggen, he was the instigator, the creator, and honestly, Krepo, if you remember rightly, Krepo was taken out of that fight right at the beginning, instantly. The thing that was very important, though, is he did get the Death Sentence, the box, and the exhaust down. So his key abilities had been thrown in place, and Puszu was actually caught by one of the slow positions. They've jumped on Xpeke. They managed to go straight in towards him, and they hasn't got Zhonya's hourglass available either. That was a little ballsy play there from Froggen. Kind of going in, just instantly got stunned out and thought, yeah, kind of backfired. It was well played by Xpeke. He threw his ultimate onto himself and became untargetable, so the gold card was no longer a threat to him, and Froggen was forced to back away. So good counterplay by Xpeke, but they got the ultimates traded, and another dragon goes the way of Evil Geniuses. They extend their gold lead to 11,000. Their focus is going to be on Baron because there's so many super minions for Fnatic to deal with. That was the 5th dragon of the game for Evil Geniuses as well. 21-17 in terms of kills. It's definitely been a back and forth brutal battle, this one. The Baron up, and it is going to be Evil Genius to start this one off. Fnatic are not going to be able to react to this one, and the Baron will be going EG's way with just 1 inhibitor remaining. They are going to be hunting for those Nexus turrets. Yeah, and something we see Evil Geniuses do all the time is League of Legends by the numbers. They do like to go to each of the towers, each of the inhibs, so they should be setting up wards in the jungle, and then probably applying pressure in that bottom lane. And they are stacking in the middle. Of course, no inhibitor here, that's for sure. Will they just try and shove those super minions through? Fnatic see them rolling down towards that bottom, but they're going to react to it. Evil Genius is trying to set up some traps, trying to set up some bait anywhere they possibly can, but they are going to have ward placements out for Fnatic, so they know they have vision of them. Froggen with that Oracle on, along with Krepo, going to clear and sweep out those wards and push in for this final inhibitor turret. If you're watching at home, keep your eyes on the mini-map. The second a little Fnatic face moves away from that tower, that's going to be the go signal for Evil Geniuses. As long as they have vision of it. Xpeke is not available. If he gets seen by the minions, that's going to be when EG go in. There's a line of Caitlyn traps that EG have to deal with in front of the tower, and that's going to be just a minor inconvenience for them. You can see there they go, because Xpeke is not there. Xpeke goes in, he's managed to to dash him well back in there. They will catch out Snoopeh, but instantly Wickd uses his ultimate straight on towards him. Pete takes down sOAZ, gets on towards the inhibitor to it. Doesn't matter, they just melt the rest of the team. It's a triple kill picked up by Froggen as he goes in, throws out the Destiny. Xpeke has to use the ultimate on himself to try and prevent it, but it's the Nexus turrets they're going to focus on now. They will lock them down. It's going to be Evil Geniuses picking up their third win of the season against Fnatic and climbing the table once again. It's been a great weekend so far for EG. That's their second win so far in Week 8, and you can see what it means to them. They've taken down Fnatic once again in tremendous style.
From the very first kill on the board, Evil Geniuses dealt with the double smite team composition of Fnatic. They secured the kill onto YellOwStaR, Puszu in the beginning of the game, and they never relented. They shut down the duo lane, they applied pressure to the towers, they invaded the jungle, and basically Evil Geniuses did no wrong outside of 1 or 2 team fights.
Fantastic, fantastic. And just look at that, 9-1-11 for Froggen. Incredible scoring. He was doing so much damage. 533 CS, by the way, at the end of that game. Incredible stuff. Also, looking at some of the other stats, you can see, of course, the AD carries 8-4-7 for Puszu, but it was only 4-5-14 for Yellowpete. He was the support man, really, honestly. And if you remember it, Snoopeh picked up a triple kill in there as well. Some fantastic play all across the board, and you cannot discount how important Yorick was there. Wickd on Yorick. So many times, them omens were just absolutely
his omens were perfect. His omens were perfect. In the final fight, he brought Snoopeh back from beyond the grave to actually allow his damage down. In a previous engagement, he brought Krepo back so Krepo could get the box down in the jungle. Time and time again, it worked out. And when I look at the composition of Fnatic, all of the physical damage of Jace, Lee Sin, and Caitlyn, I go back to Week 1 games in DreamHack, where Ninjas in Pajamas did that against Lemondogs. Lemondogs just stacked armor, bought Thornmails, and were unkillable. And the exact same thing happened here.
And that's incredible. That takes Fnatic, what, to 12-10? Evil Genius is 11-11. They're just one game away from them now. So they're effectively into 5th place on their own. Fnatic sliding down. It's all getting very close in the tables right now.
So basically, Evil Geniuses are playing scumbags right now. And they said, you know, in the middle of the table, we're going to make it shorter. Because the people that were ahead cannot continue going ahead. They cannot continue pulling ahead. Yesterday, Lemondogs picked up 1 win. Then they lost, maintaining that, 3-game swing from 1st to 7th or whatever it is in the table.
Yeah, and they were actually saying they wanted Lemondogs to actually win yesterday because then it would give them that gap into 6th. They were just worried about that gap between 6th and 7th. Now they're probably thinking, you know what? I reckon we can aim higher in this.
I have another question that I think everybody's going to think about when we consider the Evil Geniuses lineup. They play SK in the last game of the day. Now, out of the last few games, they are 6-4. No, 6-2. 5-2, 6-2 with Snoopeh and Shaka. So they've got a much better win-loss ratio with the new players. Snoopeh's currently 3-0 in the games that he's playing. Shaka is 2-2. So my question is, who's the starting jungler against a team like SK in a situation like this? Because Snoopeh's been doing very well, but so is Shaka.
And I hate to say, but they're 3-0 against Gambit, 3-1 against Fnatic now. They're 2-1 against SK. They could make that 3-1. They've got very good results against the old guard, as it were, Evil Geniuses. They definitely know how to play them. And let's go over to Joe and Jason to see exactly how they did play it against Fnatic.
Thanks a lot, guys. And it's kind of hard to figure out where we're going to start with analysis for this one because it was a very, very long game full of so many different points where we could have really gone to the replays. But let's go right back to the start here and talk to me a little bit about your opinions on the whole double smite running in the combo with the Nunu's consume as well.
Well, I mean, you heard Trevor talk about it quite a bit. It's a really interesting thing where you see back in OGN, they run Nunu middle with the AD carry, and because of that, they get a lot of control in the enemy jungle, just in terms of smiting, taking away the big raid, taking away the bust when they can. It was good in theory. The execution, to me, wasn't done that well, unfortunately, but you saw in, like, the Baron fights, a couple of them, you saw a Dragon, like, the threat of having a Nunu can consume, first of all, and smite on top of that, really made Snoopeh play very careful in terms of how he's actually going to smite things down. And I mean, just the Nunu, we don't really see the support anymore, but with the Caitlyn, it can really work. It helps kind of mitigate that mid-game fall-off that she has.
Well, let's have a look then at the first replay. This was half an hour from the end. It was still 25 minutes in, though, to bear in mind. And this is where we really saw that, you know, Xpeke, despite having pretty much a perfect ultimate, you could see how far behind he was in the game.
Yeah, so let's get the replay on the screen just to kind of set up the entire fight for you, because it's really important. And you mentioned the great fact is that Xpeke, he gets a perfect engage on the entirety of EG over towards his top side. The downside to this whole thing is he's 0-2 and 3. He doesn't have that much AP. He's behind in farm, and you're going to see why that's really impactful as this goes on. So let's go ahead and start this replay up and show you how exactly it develops. And it's really unfortunate because the engage was just so solid out of him, locking up the 4, but you have to give Froggen so much credit. You're going to watch him, and I want to focus on him in particular on the side because he runs interference this entire time. Look where sOAZ goes. He's going to chase after him and try to 1v1 him, and by pulling him away, it takes away a lot of pokes, so the rest of the Evil Geniuses can kind of run away and not take too much damage. And just throughout the entire fight, Froggen keeps running his interference. He picks up 1 kill, ends up picking up another, and escaping in the end. And why we want to show this replay in particular was just the fact that it shows that Fnatic was behind in the beginning. And because of that, every single fight we saw for the next 14, 15 minutes was all in EG's favor.
Yeah, we had a little bit later on a big fight coming in there as well, and it continued to be the case there. And the thing is, in this one, it was slightly different in the fact that Evil Geniuses almost, if the game was maybe a little bit later on, I mean, they did take an inhibitor from this one, but if it was slightly later on, maybe another 5 minutes into the game, this could have actually been a final push coming out from Fnatic, so take us through it.
Okay, I thought you were going to say it's on EG's side, because we saw them. They had the final push back and got Baron, but yeah, I mean, it was 39 minutes in. Let's get the replay on the screen, just kind of show you how this develops, because EG, they had the advantage for this fight. Like, we were looking at it, and we we're like, pretty easy for EG. They should be able to clean this up, take the inhibitor. But there's one major thing that happens with an 8,000 gold lead. It's all about YellowPete. I mean, I don't like to call him out in particular about this, but if you watch him for the entire fight, all he does is hit Cyanide, get him low, and then just backs away, hits turrets, hits inhibitors, and EG kind of loses their focus. Let's start the replay up and show you how it kind of goes through here. And just really, keep your eye on YellowPete. It's just really unfortunate because he gets the turret very low. He gets engaged upon by Cyanide, ends up able to kite it. He has a GA available, and that's also another key point, which he ends up losing right after. The rest of EG, they're over towards his top side. They're just trying to fight out as YellowStaR gets actually a great ultimate off on Nunu to pretty much zone out. And then, of course, you see YellowPete, you see Froggen go right after Cyanide. One more hit right there. He cancels the auto attack. Would have killed him. Goes back to the turret, so he still kills it in the end. But then you look, Xpeke, he's very low. He's going to end up escaping this and flashing over towards the other side. YellowPete and Froggen, instead of going straight for him, which Froggen ends up flashing, they hit the inhibitor a couple times. They missed out on so much damage. Snoopeh ends up dying because he was ulted by Wickd. And, of course, Fnatic, they end up turning this around. They lose 1 member. That is it. They pick up 5 kills. They pick up an inhibitor middle where EG failed to do that with that Baron. And it's just really unfortunate, but it shows like the teamwork of Fnatic. They realized YellowPete, he's not attacking the right targets. They took advantage of that completely. They pretty much forced the fight in one direction, while the rest of them just kind of kited away from it and they ended up taking the inhibitor, but unfortunately not the game.
Yeah, obviously we saw another Baron coming in there, and that time around,